would like to recognize the presence of Dr. Glenn Jacobs, Provost, Dr. G. Richard Oles, President Emeritus and our keynote speaker for today, Dr. Mark Clunas, Senior Associate Dean of Basic Sciences, Dr. Robert Grant, Senior Associate Dean of Clinical Studies, Dr. Lucy Clunes, Dean of Students, Dr. Antonia McDonald, representing Dr. Kyle McPherson, Dean of Graduate Studies, Dr. Brendan LaGrenade, Vice Provost for Institutional Advancement, the Associate and Assistant Deans, Chairs, and Heads of Departments within the St. George's University School of Medicine, other faculty members, staff, specially invited guests, parents, and of course, most especially our students. Today, we celebrate the beginning of an incredible journey for our students as they don the white coat for the first time, stepping into a profession that demands both commitment and compassion. As a proud alumna of this esteemed institution, I can tell you firsthand that this ceremony is not just about putting on a coat. It's about embracing the values of integrity, service, and lifelong learning. It is a reminder that medicine is more than a science. It is a human endeavor built on trust, empathy, and dedication to others. You, our students, have worked tirelessly to reach this milestone, and today you take your first symbolic step into a profession that will challenge and inspire you every single day. Wear this coat with pride, knowing that it represents not just knowledge, but also humility and the privilege of caring for others. I'd like to share with you a brief history of the white coat ceremony. In 1993, the Arnold P. Gold Foundation created a white coat ceremony at Columbia University's College of Physicians and Surgeons to promote humanism in medicine. With guidance from the Gold Foundation, St. George's University School of Medicine initiated its own white coat ceremony in 1996, long before many other U.S. medical schools. In 2003, the Gold Foundation founded the Gold Humanism Honor Society, an international society dedicated to the promotion of humanism, professionalism, and ethics both in medical practice and education. Dr. Arnold Gold passed away at the age of 92. He was an international advocate for humanism in healthcare, and we are honored to have hosted Dr. Gold and his wife Sandra as keynote speakers for our Spring 2005 White Coat ceremony. The St. George's University's chapter of the Gold Humanism Society is based in the Department of Clinical Skills and is supported by the Dean of Medicine's office. Our chapter established the Humanitarian Student Organization in 2009, through which our basic sciences students promote humanism across the SU and Grenadian communities. And chapter members are nominated by their peers and inducted during their clinical training when they participate in an ongoing chapter project. So it is now my pleasure to welcome to the podium Dr. Glenn Jacobs, Provost of St. George's University.
Good afternoon. Can you guys hear me okay right there at the back? All good. Welcome once again. On behalf of St. George's University, I would like to welcome all of you to St. George's University and the island of Grenada, or better known as the Isle of Spice. I also would like to welcome all of you online that is present today, and I hope you'll enjoy the ceremony as well. Special word of welcome to our President Emeritus, Dr. Oles. We're very much looking forward to his keynote address, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy the stories that he'll share with you. A special word of welcome also to all our parents, family, and friends present here today. Now, this is indeed a very memorable day for all of you, and I would like to acknowledge you for what you have done for your student. I'm sure you are very proud of them, and they of you. Now, I hope you are enjoying your stay here on the island of Spice. You are fortunate to be visiting us during a very special time in Grenada. This year, Grenada is celebrating its 51st anniversary of independence on February the 7th, next week, Friday. Now, you might have noticed all the red, green, and gold colors here at the school, on the campus, and also around the island. Now, we at St. George's are very happy to celebrate this event with the community of Grenada. As students, it might also be helpful for you to know the meaning of the colors. So green represents the island's vegetation and agriculture. Red stands for courage and vitality. And gold, yellow, reflects the warmth and wisdom of this nation. And I will get back to this word, wisdom. So students, I am very happy to welcome you in person. I will not speak to you that often or address you again in a group like this. The next time that will probably happen will be during your graduation. Yes, you'll be amazed how quickly that will be. Other presenters here today will speak about the white coat and the meaning of the white coat. But I want to address the following. You have come here with great intellect. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be sitting here in front of me. You have and will gain lots of knowledge while being at St. George's University. But I trust that during your time here, you will also develop that word that I was referring to earlier, some wisdom. John Esow, best-selling author, explains it so well in his book, The 5 Secrets You Must Discover Before You Die. Wisdom is different and fundamentally more important than knowledge. Knowledge is the accumulation of facts, whereas wisdom is the ability to discern what matters and what does not matter. Now, unless we can discover what really matters, we cannot find the true meaning of life. So I want you to really take along with you the word wisdom. Now, that was in a much more formal way and a serious way that I explained the difference between wisdom and knowledge and intellect. But there's maybe a little bit a lighter, more humorous way of thinking about it as well. I was kind of like on social media, and I was scrolling around there, and I don't know, I think it was either Instagram or TikTok or something, but I found this quote about wisdom. And I thought, well, I will share that with you, and maybe that's a way you will remember it. And it was actually a guy, a sports star, that was making this quote. I don't know what's his name, but it seemed like he was from Ireland because he had an island sweater on, so I guess he was. And he said the following: knowledge, intelligence, is knowing that a tomato is a fruit. But wisdom is knowing not to put a tomato in a fruit salad. Will you guys remember that? Every time you make a fruit salad, don't put the tomato in there, okay? So that might be a way to remember wisdom. So as you put on your white coat today, it is a symbol of all the hard work that you have put in to reach this point. Your white coat signifies a commitment, not only to acquiring knowledge, but to practicing discipline and applying wisdom in everything you do. Enjoy the island with your loved ones here present today. Take them out somewhere to go and eat tonight. Have some callaloo soup. It's a very, very nice dish. If you haven't had it, I always encourage people to put a little bit more cream with it and a little bit of hot sauce. Makes it more tasty, and that's something that you can take with as a memory of Grenada. Cherish this special day. You deserve it. And once again, congratulations. Thank Thank you. I would now like to welcome Dr. Mark Kloons, Senior Associate Dean of Basic Sciences.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Mark Kloons, the Senior Associate Dean of Basic Sciences, and I've had the privilege, of course, of meeting you on day one of medical school. And in our orientation, we talked a lot about expectations. So a few words about expectations. But first, welcome to my colleagues from the School of Medicine, the faculty, staff, and administrators. Welcome to those from the School of Veterinary Medicine that are with us today, and the School of Arts and Sciences. And a very special welcome to Dr. Richard Olds, who's been associated with the school. And I've seen many white talks at which he's talked, and it's always special, let me put it like that. A special welcome to the families that have come down today to be with your sponsees, the students that are training with us. And today is a pledge, and it's a pledge by you as aspiring physicians. Your journey already started. It started a number of weeks ago. You've been in class now quite a few times before we get to this point. But today is slightly different. It's a public proclamation. It's a public commitment to you, to yourself, to the faculty of St. George's University, to your family, and to your peers. And what's nice about that is it's 100% your choice. It's a commitment to yourself, but also to the community of professionals you're going to serve and the patients that you will serve. It's also a pledge that you'll do your best. Apply yourself with the best intention, with positivity to the patients and colleagues that you work with, and to the highest standards of integrity. And the wonderful news is that unlike your board exams, which you have very little control over, your commitment to integrity is 100% your identity and your control. And I always say it, but between every action and reaction, there's time to pause, to think, and to be intentional. What is your reaction going to be? That is your professionalism, your mindfulness about how you present yourself and how you react to the external environment. Now, on your journey through medical knowledge to clinical wisdom, that's going to be a long journey. It's a long, progressive journey of integration along the way. But the wonderful thing about the other commitment you're making today, that's full throttle. That starts today. That commitment to integrity is an expectation that we set today, tomorrow, and for the rest of the time during your medical studies. That's not one that develops slowly. Certainly your competencies will develop slowly, but your commitment to yourself and to your professional identity is one that you can make today. I just want to remind you, because often on days like this, time can run very fast. Take a moment, be present in that moment, be present with your loved ones and your friends, and make sure you form memories, because those memories will last beyond tomorrow and most likely for the rest of your life. I wish you the very best on this journey, and I'm very happy to introduce you to my compadre in the clinical years, Dr. Bob Grant, and he'll be in charge of your clinical pathway over the next 4 years.
I'm delighted to end my welcome and greetings to all the communities that are here today, as well as the students themselves, the focus of the ceremony. But without all the communities here supporting you, I get to speak on behalf of the clinicians who, in a couple of years, you'll get disseminated from Grenada out to our regional sites, where you'll get to interact with patients and have that white coat be more than just something that's hanging in your closet on a daily basis. I also send greetings from our Dean, Dean Marios Lucas, who's traveling on business for SGU. He sends his congratulations and his regards as well. Two things that Dean Lucas always said in his white coat ceremony talks, which I will say for him. The first, this is a festive occasion. I don't see anybody smiling. When you get up here on the stage and you get your picture taken, please don't make this look like it's a lineup of, people who did something wrong. We will ask you to hold your applause until that group of students is recognized. But I have to tell you, when individual parents and friends salute their students, or like the baby is doing this thing now, I love that part the best, because it reflects that we're in a real world with real relationships. So don't be embarrassed when your brother or sister or mother screams your name out. I celebrate those things. That couldn't be more representative of how proud of each of you that not only they are, but we are too. Recently, the Wall Street Journal had an editorial that talked about, is medicine a calling? Is it a job? And there's some generational differences in that. It's fascinating to read the give and take on it, but in my opinion, it's neither. You should have a passion for medicine, because as my dad said, if you love what you're doing, you'll never work a day in your life. The other thing about that is to realize that this is just another milestone in what will be a series of milestones throughout your professional career. Donning of the white coat will be something that will distinguish you from people who aren't physicians, but with that particular privilege comes responsibility. Responsibility, of course, is that you will be privy to the deepest secrets and challenges and problems that your fellow man is taking. You will learn that the doctor-patient relationship is an unparalleled relationship, unlike any other in your life. You cannot look at the patient the same way that you're going to look at someone who might be your friend or intimate life partner, or who you might want to go into business with. The patient is coming to you with a problem and asking for your help. Questions about who they believe, what they say, what church they go to, what country they're from, none of that belongs in the exam room. The sanctity of the doctor-patient relationship is truly the message that I want to leave with you today. The other thing that I want to add is that I think they asked me to speak because I knew Dr. Gold. I had a lovely career at Columbia and met him in the 1990s when he was just beginning to come up with the idea of this particular white coat ceremony in the Gold Humanism Society. Dr. Gold was a pediatrician, and we used to laugh. He went into pediatrics because he was diminutive in size. And what he would do when he was on rounds with his patients, particularly if they were ambulatory, he would get down and look his patients in the eye. For him to be able to make that degree of connectivity with a pediatric patient and have the patient trust him implicitly was one of the most important lessons that I learned from Dr. Gold. Don't let the white coat define you. It does mean that you have responsibilities, but be true to yourselves. You're here because each of you is a unique person with your own strengths and possibilities and ability to change the world one patient at a time. The things that your parents, your friends, and your education has taught you so far will be with you for the rest of your lives. I reduce it to saying, you all know the difference between right and wrong. When you're challenged by what's the thing to do for a patient, remember, this is somebody's sibling, somebody's parent, somebody's relative. Act as if this is a member of your family, and you'll never go wrong. My last point has to do with something that the Provost said, to talk about medicine being a lifelong learning process. It's called the practice of medicine because none of us get it completely right, and your learning will be a lifetime of learning. What did I learn today on the white coat ceremony? I learned about fruits. I had no idea that a tomato was a fruit. And, I know that berries weren't fruits, and I had to look up, and thankfully we have our portable brains with us, why berries aren't fruits and tomatoes are. Having that ability to chat about a completely obscure topic will now benefit me, so that if I am ever in a situation where I'm at a social event and there's silence, I can say, you know what our white coat ceremony we talked about? We talked about fruits. Not that the provost said that I was a fruit, but he wanted us to know that there is a difference between fruits and knowledge and wisdom. So, medicine is a team sport. Learning is a team sport. We are all here at St. George's to help you. A seasoned clinician knows to ask for a consultation if they're dealing with a challenging issue that they may not be completely familiar with. Look to your right and to your left as students. Those are a great resource for you. Look over here to this fantastic collection of peers who I'm honored and thrilled to work with. We are all here for you. Your success is our success. You just have to ask for help. We want to hear from you. Professionalism means asking for help. It's like asking for that consultation. When I look at this fantastic group of students sitting in front of me, and you may not know that I was a clinical plastic surgeon before I became a dean, so I therefore am able to say with great medical authority that this is, if not the best, one of the best looking groups of students that I have ever seen. The plastic surgery joke always gets them. Please know that not only I, but all of us at SGU are incredibly proud of each and every one of you. We wish you continued success, personally and professionally. We are here from you. We wish you congratulations, felicitations, and excitations on this memorable day. Good luck, and God bless.
I now have the great pleasure of introducing Dr. G. Richard Oles, an esteemed and respected colleague and our keynote speaker. Dr. G. Richard Oles is a physician, innovator, educator, researcher, and administrator for spanning over 4 decades. He graduated from Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland, Ohio with distinction and trained in internal medicine at the Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston. He then trained as a fellow in both infectious disease and tropical medicine at University Hospitals of Cleveland, where he was also selected to be their chief resident. After several years at Case Western Reserve University, he was recruited to Brown University, where he rose to be a tenured professor of medicine, pediatrics, and molecular cell and developmental biology. He was the founding director of Brown's International Health Institute and taught some of the university's most popular undergrad courses. Dr. Oles was then recruited back to his alma mater to be the chairman of medicine at the Metro Health campus of Case Western Reserve University, where he served for almost a decade. He was then recruited to the Medical College of Wisconsin as a tenured professor and chairman of the Department of Medicine, where he served for 11 years. In 2009, he became the founding dean of the University of California, Riverside School of Medicine, where he opened the first new 4-year medical school in the UC system in almost 4 decades. In 2015, he became the first president of St. George's University here in Grenada. In 2022, he retired from St. George's University as their emeritus president. In recent years, he has worked as a consultant helping U.S. hospitals improve their resident and medical student education programs. He currently chairs the St. George's University Oversight Committee, which is charged by the school's accreditors to monitor the school's performance. Dr. Oles has always been an educational innovator, having created a variety of specialized residency training programs, medical student tracks, and introduced several new curricula. He has started over a dozen new GMC residency training programs in several disciplines and has been a strong voice for incorporating social mission in medical education. Dr. Oles has received numerous teaching awards throughout his career and even today continues to teach and advise residents and students. Dr. Oles is an internationally recognized authority in tropical medicine. He's the author of over 100 peer-reviewed papers and book chapters. He represents North America on several WHO expert panels, sits on the board of the Global Viral Network, and has been designated as a master by the American College of Medicine. It's my pleasure again to welcome G. Richard Oles.
Well, it's a real pleasure to be the keynote speaker today. And I want to give a special thanks to the administration, faculty, and staff for being invited back. You know, when you leave an institution, it's always nice to be invited back, and I appreciate the opportunity to address you today. I also appreciate all of you in the back of the room and the sides of the room, because my wife and I, not that long ago, were in exactly the same situation you're in. Very proud of the success of one of our children in entering the medical profession. Now, when I thought about what I was going to talk about today, I took inspiration from my own father, who unfortunately has now passed away. But my own father was a university president most of his life. And before that, he was a Methodist minister. And he gave great sermons. And the reason I think that they were great sermons is he would tell personal stories that had at the end of that story an allegory that would make the emotional point about whatever thesis he had for that particular sermon. And I'm going to borrow from that strategy. You've all learned, obviously, intellectually, what the meaning of that white coat is. I mean, several of the speakers have already commented on it. But today I'm going to tell you 3 personal stories that I hope connect with you at a different level. Because that white coat, after all, is not just about the rhetoric. It's about how you feel inside. Now, the first story takes place almost 50 years ago. You learned that I trained in internal medicine at the Mass General, and about a week into my very first internship, I was called in the emergency room to see a patient, and I, of course, walked down and went into one of the emergency room cubicles, and there I met Miss Robinson. Now, Miss Robinson was an elderly African-American woman, and when I first saw her, she was sitting bolt upright in the bed, very short of breath, and obviously in distress. Now, it wasn't difficult to figure out what was going on with Mrs. Robinson. She was obviously in severe congestive heart failure, and it really wasn't difficult to figure out why she was in congestive heart failure, because all you had to do is walk in and put your hand on her chest, and you could feel the harsh rumble of aortic stenosis. Now, for those non-physicians in the audience, the aorta is that big blood vessel that comes directly out of the heart, and when the heart contracts each time, it pushes the blood through a valve, the aortic valve, into that structure. And the valve closes so that all the pressure doesn't come back into the chamber. Well, if that valve begins to narrow, the heart has to work harder and harder to get the blood out. And eventually, the heart fails. And that's what was happening with Miss Robinson. So I, gave her some oxygen, made her feel better, and she went up to our intensive care unit. And I went upstairs on rounds, and I was met with this huge stack of paper which represented all the past admissions for Miss Robinson. Now, you guys will never see that. Everything's now electronic, but in the old days, we used to write down everything in pieces of paper, and it would be accumulated. And so I was pouring through all of these past admissions, and I found, really eloquent descriptions of calcific aortic stenosis of the elderly and the differential diagnosis of heart failure and all of the greatest breakthroughs in cardiovascular surgery, all written by the luminaries at the Mass General before me. But when I turned to each of the end of those admissions, every single time it was recommended she have open heart surgery, and every single time she rejected that idea and went home on medical therapy, and medical therapy just doesn't work very well with aortic stenosis. Well, the other thing I learned from those charts is I turned to the last volume, and there I looked and I saw that the resident that had taken care of Miss Robinson for the last 3 years had just gone on to do his fellowship, and therefore Miss Robinson is now my patient. So I took care of Miss Robinson over the summer, and you can imagine she'd get admitted with severe congestive heart failure. We'd make her a little better. We ultimately said, you know, you really have to have cardiovascular surgery to replace this valve. She steadfastly refused surgery and went home in medical therapy, only to come back in a couple more weeks. Now, one of the nice things that happened is I obviously got to know Miss Robinson quite well, since I seemed to see her all the time. And one of the evenings after she was feeling better, I sat down with her and I said, you know, Miss Robinson, I know you're a very bright woman. You were a school teacher for 40 years. And I know that you know where the problem is. All you got to do is put your hand on your chest and you can feel where the problem is. And I know you know the only way to save your life is to have this surgery, and yet you keep refusing to have the surgery week after week, month after month. I'd really like to understand why. Well, I think by now Miss Robinson had gotten to know me, and I think a certain amount of trust, and she shared with me the fact that as a young woman she had moved up from the South and become a school teacher, and she was a school teacher for 40 years. She never married. And 15 years into her position, she had been retired. And all of her friends and relatives have either died or moved away, and she was all alone by herself. And she said, every time you present this idea of having open heart surgery, I look at this huge, intimidating building and structure and all of these strange people that will be working with me and this horrendous surgery and the long recovery, and I just get terrified. And the only way I have to deal with it is say no and walk out the door. Well, I thought about that, and the next day, right before she was discharged, I said, Miss Robinson, what if you had a friend that would come into the hospital with you when you were admitted, would get you through all of that tests and stuff you got to do, would be there when they induced anesthesia, would be there when you woke up after anesthesia, and would visit you every day while you were in rehab. Do you think you would have the courage to go through this big operation? And she thought about it for a while, and she finally said, well, maybe I could do that. So the next day, Miss Robinson and I were admitted to the Mass General Hospital. I took her through all of the admission stuff on the surgical service. I was there when they induced anesthesia. I was there when she woke up, and I visited her every day in rehab. It wasn't a big deal, really. That was way before the 80-hour work week. As a house officer, the Mass General, we worked all the time. We lived in the hospital. So it wasn't a big deal to, I make one more stop on my extensive rounds. But at the end of the day, she recovered completely. She lived another 10 years, and she ultimately died of a completely unrelated medical problem from her heart disease. And I still remember Miss Robinson. She knitted me an Afghan that I have on my bed on our farm in Vermont. And what's the message of this story? Well, the message of the story is it didn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what's going on. It didn't take, a big differential diagnosis where we magically came up with some obscure disease that this patient had. It didn't require a lot of complicated knowledge about surgery and medical therapy. All Miss Robinson needed was a friend. And if there wasn't any other friends around, it had to be me. And that's the meaning of that white coat you put on today. Now, the second story is a very personal story. And before I tell you that story, I need to give you a little background, okay? So I've been training doctors for about 50 years, and I've always thought it would be a great idea if each and every one of you was a patient a few times. Now, I'm not wishing you to get sick and stuff, but it's important that you understand what it feels like to be a patient. You feel incredibly vulnerable. Try walking around naked with your Johnny open in the back. And it's hard to feel really confident. And especially if you have an unknown illness, it's pretty scary. Your mind wonders, what is the terrible illness that I might have? What's going to happen in the future? But as scary as being a patient is, there's nothing more terrifying than having a child that's admitted to the hospital with some unknown disease or some terrible accident, etc. As a parent where you feel helpless and it's not you, it's one of your children. Now, with that thought in mind, this story begins when I was chairman of medicine in Cleveland at Case Western Reserve. And the big teaching hospital I was at was right in the middle of Cleveland. And my family and my 3 kids, we decided that we'd prefer to live out in the country. So we moved to a little town of Chagrin Falls, which is right on what is a metro park, a green space that surrounds the city of Cleveland. And our house came out the back, and you went into woods, and if you kept going, it had a very steep grade through the back, and eventually it dumped into the Chagrin River. Well, one Saturday I was home working at my desk, and suddenly there was this really violent banging on the front door, and I went down and opened it up, and it was my middle son, Michael, all out of breath. He says, Dad, Trevor, and went down the hill on his sled, and he hit a tree, and he's not moving, and I think he's unconscious. Well, that was like the worst moment of my life. I managed to get it together and called 911 and left my son Michael at the front door to direct the EMTs back into the woods, and I sprinted back there, and sure enough, there was my youngest son Trevor, crumpled at the base of a tree with a broken sled, unconscious and not moving. Now, I had enough sense not to move him, and we covered him with our parkas and what seemed like forever until the EMTs arrived with a bodyboard, and we carefully put him on that and carried him up the hill and eventually into an ambulance, and then very short distance after that we went to a helipad, and my hospital actually was the home of Life Flight, which was a helicopter evacuation service, and because of that I was allowed to ride in the helicopter with my son as we flew back to the central hospital, which took us about 5 minutes. My poor wife and the other 2 kids had to drive. It took them 45 minutes. And when they got there, they discovered I was sitting alone in the waiting room outside the trauma service, waiting to see what was happening. Well, about 15 minutes later, a young woman came out in a white coat, and she came over to us and she said, the trauma surgeon asked me to come out and tell you that your son doesn't have a spinal fracture. His head seems to be okay, broke a few bones, but we think he's actually going to be okay. That was the best news of my life. And my son ultimately did quite well. He recovered. He did break a bunch of bones, knocked out a bunch of teeth, lacerated his liver, and had a grade 3 concussion. But he grew up and actually became a professional actor. Then in midlife, he decided that wasn't working so well, and so he's now a third-year medical student in your medical school. But what's the message of that story? You know, for all of my own medical knowledge and background, etc., I will never forget that young lady coming out and telling us that good news to make the parents feel better. And that's the meaning of your white coat. Now, the third story, and last story, is more recent. It took place when I was the chairman of medicine at the Medical College of Wisconsin in Milwaukee. I had a big department. I had about 350 faculty, and they were equally divided between Froedtert Hospital and the Zablocki VA Hospital. And I attended 4 months out of the year, about 2 months in each place. And I had done that for 10 or 11 years before I moved on. And so I got to know a lot of the patients that were recurrently admitted to the medical service. And this particular July, I started at the VA. Now, I always attended in July because, as you'll discover, July is when all the interns start brand new and all the medical students start their very first rotation. And so I always put the most senior faculty and the most senior residents on those services to make sure everything worked okay in July and August. And this was no different. And about 3 days into my service, I was admitted Mr. Anderson. Now, I actually knew Mr. Anderson from past admissions because he was a person that was frequently in the hospital, and his story was a really sad one. Mr. Robinson was a dairy farmer from northern Wisconsin, and his wife had died prematurely, And he had then developed leukemia. And he had to go through multiple rounds of very toxic chemotherapy. And as bad as that is, the ultimate disaster was he had a massive stroke and paralyzed the whole left side of his body. And he had to leave his dairy farm in northern Wisconsin and come and live with his daughter, lived in Milwaukee. And he lived this life of being bedridden and coming in and out of the hospital with various complications of a debilitated person in bed rest. And this was the same. He was admitted to our service with a urinary tract infection. And I assigned a young medical student, Bill, to go work with this was going to be your case. Now, it wasn't completed by accident. It turned out that Bill was from the same dairy farm area in northern Wisconsin. I thought they might have something in common. In fact, that was the truth of what happened. I would often walk by on my rounds, and I would see Bill in there with Mr. Robinson talking about fly fishing or bow hunting for deer, or Mr. Anderson was talking about his experiences in the Vietnam War, something that Bill knew obviously very little about. And, you know, Mr. Anderson eventually got better, cured his infection, and he went home. And he was unfortunately readmitted a couple more times over that month, and of course I always assigned Bill to the case. And then at the end of the month came around, I rotated off as the attending, and I had to go to a medical conference. So I actually left town for a week. And when I got back, there was a note on my desk from Mr. Anderson's daughter. Well, I called her back, and she told me that Mr. Anderson had passed away during the week that I was gone. And of course, I gave her my condolences and that I was sorry that I wasn't there to support the family during that difficult time. But she told me an interesting story. Mr. Robinson was a deeply religious man, and he often said he could not understand why God was punishing him so. His wife had died. He had this terrible disease. He had to go through all this terrible treatment. He had the stroke. The thing he bothered him most is he had to leave his beloved farm in Wisconsin and live this invalid life in and out of the hospital. But right before he died, he told his daughter that he finally figured out what God had in mind. He wanted him to hang around for a few more months so he could make Bill a better medical student. And that's the meaning of that white coat. Now, you're going to learn all about the science of medicine. You're already in the process of doing that. You'll be very well-educated physicians at the end of your 4 years. But you'll learn the art of medicine from your patients. Listen to your patients. Care about your patients. And they'll make you an outstanding physician. So, in summary, let me congratulate all of you in the class of 2029 and welcome you to the noble practice of medicine. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Olds, for your inspiring stories that I think beautifully illustrated the meaning and the responsibilities of the white coat that you guys are about to don. So St. George's University School of Medicine will now present you with a white coat symbolizing your entry to the profession and your commitment to uphold the duties and trust associated with medicine and medical training. I now invite faculty from the School of Medicine to take the stage. And our quotas today will include Dr. Theophanis Colias, Dr. Jessica Milner, Dr. Gabriel Walcott-Bedeau, Dr. Hisham Elnash, Dr. Mishon Suku Pratab, Dr. Donette Gonzague, Dr. Rohan Cummings, and Dr. Alina Wade. Dr. Nitsa Topal, the Associate Dean of Assessment and Evaluation, will call each student by name and college. Those students who have with them today a physician, family member, or loved one will be quoted by those physicians. Please hold your applause until all students are quoted and keep the aisles clear for the duration of the quoting.
I will now read out the students from Hippocrates College. Dupe Adeniran. Oh, actually, I'll take it. Go ahead. Sumaria Batul. Anesu Saunyama. Ariv Ramlal. Ebunolua Olufotehibi. Alexander Santa Teresa. Amina Durakovic. Derek Whitehead. Wanji Ange Frederick Jr. Nua. James McClurg. Paul Taylor. Muskan Sodi. Shruti Shiva Kumar. Omaida Dahep. Mariam Swale Break. Leah Tadese. Komal Nahal. Carlos Moya Beltran. Harkubind Tatla. Demario Hussey. Carter Henry. Ivan Enin. Sarah Bega. Casey Dugan. Sahil Safi. Nikeda Logly. Lodgy, sorry. Tavni Fernando. Noah Minhas. Omar Ganum. Derek DeBaker. Adriana Hernandez Garajuna. Subayal Shoaib. Chiazom Chinedu Chika. I will now call out the names of the students representing Mackinac College. Pio Goiletsi. Chris Nabong. Shaylin Springted. Lawrence Shiltitano. Lexi Singkami. Amanda Lay. Eugenia Manrique. Kazin Shin Tant. Steffi Kaur. Vikas Gogna. William Kabolski. Safin Chowdhury. Aditi Garikipati. Tiffany Hardison. Osayuwamen Olaye. Amina Shukba. Muhammad Ali. Nagar Modirian. Arvin Safamannesh. Kaylee Spoon. Zaniba Amjad. Shamir Soherwadi. Anwuli Onyejose. Michaela Williams. Nigel White. Oluwatoke Lojedi. Salmina Azizi. Misha Stevenson. Jose Reyna.
Let's go, Jose!
Jean Irwing Aludor. Sridhar Patel. Batul Hamadi. Zaina Salam. Zaina Salam. Anyana Balasubramani Vinita. Akshaj Penmetsa. Paing Tutuntet. Anthony Aslanyan. Kyle Fikani. Zaid Simji. Jennifer Ogunyamoju. Oguyameju. I will now call out the names of the students representing Metrodora College. Arslan Akhtar. Manil Kanani. Dhruv Gupta. Matthew Shersing. Ashur Jamil. Shanae Peterkin. Esther Oladunjoye. Samantha Graham. Arya Nekjoti. Amanda Munoz. Archita Kadka. Alina Varghese. Daniela Garcia Aregi. Aaron Menkes. Shati Kondakar. Jobsi Portillis. Madeline Wilkie. Zon Avenant, Fatima Alburida, Hidayah Zahar, Hannah Matthew, Ebony Acedo, Arian Gudger, Sally Jane Lombardo Kaiser, Serena Jiva, Tyler Tran, Emily Kowalski, Samer Abdallah, Andrew Youssef, Dave Patel, Joshua Cherian, Misty Noel Warden, Lizmael Komliampwe, Preetha Ravi, Pirmo, I will now introduce the names of the students representing Peabody College. Sarah Abu Mohammed. Hayung John. Oluwatuminu Alabi. Amalia Riola. Sunil Tapa. Gabriela Fajardo. Miche Pauni. Tumo Melefe. Lina Noman. Jesus Romero. Mabeli Esposito. Umit Aiken. Kroma Patel. Ariel Moadel. Brandon Ordonez. Kimi Dillon. Xavier Hendricks. Ekreyim Kanj. Lorene Raychuni. Isabella Vivian Elias. Arez Nagra. Claiborne Brochu. George Atia. Sid Chava. Harman Singh Kokar. Krista Call. Eleni Gongo. Valerie Osibo. Ritvink Baratam. Abraham Yusuf. Shield Dawn Ogbona.
M is silent, so it's Villakanda.
Daniel Villakanda. Jomiloju Makinde. Kasim Zubair. Elias Karat. Sarah Onyeka. Thank you very much to the faculty who've coded our students. The next set of students will be coded by their special designees. Representing Peabody College, Renee Zayuna, coded by Dr. Maher Zayuna, her father. Representing Metrodora College, Karen Rose Redubla, coded by Dr. Dennis Redubla, father. Representing Hippocrates College, Mo Shokuhi, coded by Hamid Shokuhi, father. Representing Hippocrates College, Nishi Patel, coded by Dr. Paresh Patel, father. Representing Mackinac College, Elion Fontaine, coded by Dr. Gary Fontaine, father. Representing Hippocrates College, Madison Mitchum, coded by Dr. Fazal Rahim, her father. Dominic Tien Boy, coded by Dr. Thi Boy, sister. Representing Metrodora College, Andrew Hermes, coded by Dr. Jacqueline Boutros. Twice a year. And then graduation. Graduation's a fun one. Representing Peabody College, Janab Bukhari, coded by Dr. Mohammed Yunus, father. Representing Peabody College, Tanya Mahendrian, coded by Dr. Mira Mahendrian, sister. Representing Metrodora, Marissa Claire Flores, coded by Dr. Teresa Ordona and Alan Flores, mother and father. Representing Peabody College, Sophia Yimer, coded by Dr. Kausar Yassin Kazan.
So I'd like to say, again, congratulations to you guys, class of 2029, on receiving your white coats. May it be a symbol of your journey ahead and your dedication and compassion that you'll be showing to yourselves and, of course, to your patients. So at this time, I would like to invite or introduce Dr. Anna Cyrus Murden. She's the Assistant Dean for Simulation and a fellow SU-SOM alumna, and she will lead you in the professional commitments.
Good afternoon. Almost. I'd like to remind you that you're at your white coat ceremony, so I want to feel the energy. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. That's it. So at this time, I invite the class of 2029 to stand and to recite aloud with me the professional commitment listed in your programs. I'd also like to invite all the physicians in the room to also stand and join us. This commitment was originally written by a student task force in 1995 and revised later in 2024. It has been recited at each of our School of Medicine white coat ceremony, and this will be no different. Are you ready? Today is the beginning of my medical education and training as a physician. I acknowledge my responsibility to continue the pursuit of knowledge and understanding while recognizing the limits of my abilities and seeking assistance when necessary. I am entering training for a noble profession in which my interests must always be subservient to those who may seek my assistance. I must be ever conscious of the value of my fellow healthcare professionals and treat them with respect at all times. My classmates at St. George's University are now my colleagues, and I owe to them the same support and encouragement to achieve their goals as I hope to receive from them. I will work alongside my colleagues and professors with tolerance, compassion, honesty, and cultural humility. I will treat all members of the St. George's University community and its visitors with equity, regardless of rank, and I will do with my future patients. I acknowledge my obligations to adhere to the University Honor Code and to conduct myself with integrity and in an ethical manner at all times henceforth. Taking full responsibility for my choices and actions, I shall do all within my power to show in myself an example of all that is honorable and good throughout my medical career. It is a privilege to have been given the opportunity to become a physician. May I ever be conscious of that privilege and never abuse it. And with that, congratulations, class of 2029. Welcome to St. George's University. Please be seated.
So we've come to the end of your white coat ceremony today. On behalf of St. George's University, I would like to thank the Arnold Gold Foundation for the Humanism in Medicine pins that's placed on each student's white coat. Thank you, students, your families, faculty, staff, administrators, and specially invited guests for your support and for your presence at this ceremony. We ask that you remain seated and keep the aisles clear until the faculty and students have exited as directed by the ushers. And please join us for light refreshments in the open Maudica area. Thank you again for joining us today, and a final congrats to the class of 2029.